birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Can weather any storm. Before I sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more. You and I can weather any storm. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more.
The sky's so far away tonight, but I can't lose this one. Got a bright of a falling night. Thought that I was fit to fight for us to be. You gave me life for loving me. Tell me where we go so wrong. We
Can you guys hear me now? What about now? I can explain myself, guys. I'm trying to get tech fancy here with my gear where I can just press a button and go live. Practice makes perfect, right? It will happen. Oh, no, you lost me again. No voice input. Still no audio, really? We cannot hear anything. Oh, no. Okay, great. Great. Thank you. Okay, so let's get started, okay? As mentioned earlier, I'm very, very excited that there's a lot of the Patreon folks who are here to support my channel's growth. Thank you so much because of all of you guys who've been showing up for the last 2 months. My channel is now over 6,000 subscribers, even though the number of subscribers have never really been my focus. Is really about delivering great content to help you land a job. And I'm so happy, RTB for you. I know that I was on mute a second ago. Congratulations, my friend. You have earned it. You've showed up every single Tuesday for the last 2 months, and I'm so proud of you. I know that you work your tail off. The same thing as Ann Liu, who recently got hired about a month ago or so, okay? So today I just wanted to take a couple quick moments to talk about the interviewer. And you guys, I love getting feedback as well. Let me know what type of information you would like to know regarding the interviewer, and I'm happy to talk about them and answer all of your questions. But right now, I want to take a quick moment because a lot of my clients on private coaching level, as well as my Patreon community, have been through not so positive candidate experience. And that's very, excuse me, that's a very big pet peeve of mine as someone who grew up my career as a recruiter the first 10, 15 years of my life, and the last 8 years or so as a recruiting leader. So when I hear feedback like that, it bugs me a little bit. Guess what I did, guys? Actually ping a couple of my Amazonian recruiting managers. Yes, I did, to share some of this feedback with them. So my style is to use the 14 Amazon leadership principle in creating your short stories around that, and how do you come in answering in a minute or less. Okay, I feel like all of the work that I pour into my clients, those of you who have worked one-on-one on a private setting, you know my style, you know how it is, you know we have a really good time creating all of your story. But when I get feedback that the interviewers is not prepared and asking you the same questions, that is a big pet peeve of mine. I'm sorry you guys have to go through that. I want us to leave everything behind. So in this session 6, I wanted to talk about what you could have done during that time. Okay, you will interview at Amazon again, and you will interview at multiple companies again. If we are meeting for the very first time, guys, my name is Holly Lee. I'm a certified career coach. I have about 2 decades of experience, and my passion is simply help you land the right job, not just help you land a job to pay the bill. Okay, not just for Amazon, help you use my strategies for any employer that you want. And we'll talk about the market trend and what the market is telling us in a little bit. So to talk a little bit about what should you do if an interviewer, let's just say, asks you the same questions, because I'm getting a lot of that. Okay, I would say 80% of my clients who have worked with me closely have gave me the feedback that, Holly, it's great that we talk about the most commonly asked interview questions at Amazon, but the interviewers are asking me the same questions of how I use data to tell a story and how I've taken risks. So that's basically the 2 questions throughout the entire interview. What should you do, guys? Okay, here's the thing. Okay, here's the bottom line is, when you are in an interview, I don't want you guys to think that you're interviewing for an employer only. You forgot that you're also interviewing, and you are also evaluating the interviewer. And especially when the interviewers is not showing up professional or prepared, I want you to call them out. Okay, when I say call them out politely. You have to let people know that it's not okay to show up and also waste your time. And this is how I would do it. I would simply just say, hey, Joe Schmo or Kevin, actually the last interviewer have already asked me that questions. And actually the last 2 interviewers have asked me the same questions. I don't want to give the same example. Do you mind if I give you a different example instead of how I use data to tell a story? How about the biggest problem that I've solved in my career? Would you be interested in hearing that? Okay, I have no problem calling people out professionally. Okay, at the end of the day, you still need them to give you a thumbs up in order to get a job offer at ABC company or Amazon. Okay, another example is if because we're all working remotely right now, and I get it, even when I show up to my group coaching community, thank you for allowing my son to join our coaching session. You guys know who you are because you're here. Even our private session, it is so important for the interviewer. If you're watching, if you are a people manager, never ever shut off your video because your kid is in the background or making too many noises. As an interviewer, it's also your responsibility to reschedule that interview if you can't take the interview with the candidate. Why? Because you are wasting their time as well. Okay, I feel very bad. I mean, for that client of mine specifically, I know that individual worked their tail off because we have done nothing but to prep for her interview, and she was so pumped, and I knew she could land the job offer because I know her that well into working so closely with each other. So don't give up. Don't feel demotivated. There are good interviewers and bad interviewers, the same thing as recruiters, right? And just myself as well as a career coach, I'm pretty sure I make a lot of mistakes, okay? I often come onto my live stream, my audio is not even functioning, okay? People do make mistakes, but it's really important for you to show them areas that they can also make improvement. And if they're not taking it well, it may not be the right environment for you. Okay, so there you have it. I have to put it out there. Make sure that you hold the interviewer accountable. And I know that many of you have pinged me privately to ask me specifically what type of question you should be asking the on-site panel or towards the end of the interview. It is called my my interview template questions for the interviewer. You can download all of that in all of my video. There's a link. It's hollisey.com/freebie. Okay. Make sure you get that down. Now I want to answer some questions, and I wanted to say hello to everyone who is here. Hey Atusa, how are you? Let me move back up here. Hi Fani, good to see you again. You got an offer as well. Yay! Where's my bun? Yay! Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Hey Fani and RTB, if there's any tips that you can provide to the audience who are showing up every week, please do so. Basically, how do you prep in creating your short stories? Okay, and if you are using some of my tips or did you follow the STAR template, what is your strategy in getting the job offer at Amazon? Okay, please do share that on the bottom. Hey Anlu, Anlu's been following me since the very get-go, and I'm so proud of her. Hey, by the way, if you have already started at Amazon, also let us know what position you started in. Oftentimes, there's a lot of audience who are interviewing for the same position title. It may not be for the same team, and they can benefit from hearing your experiences. Okay? Hi, Gina. How are you? Hey, Ashish. And do correct me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Hi, Ricardo from Mexico. Hello, Raphael. Hey, Ashma, so good to see you again. My baby boy is not here. Woo! I feel like you could tell by my mood, by the type of music that I was playing earlier. A moment to myself. Love him, but it's good to have a moment. Hey, Ethan, how are you? For the loop, I'm sure each interviewer will ask, why Amazon? Do I need to make each answer slightly different? How should I tailor my answer to the bar racer, hiring managers? Thanks. Well, first of all, Ethan, if you haven't already, as mentioned a second ago, download my template with the type of questions to ask the bar racer, the hiring manager, and your peers or other leaders that are interviewing you. Okay, that should help you shed some light. I personally cannot tell you what questions you should ask for those interviewers because one, I know nothing about your background. It won't be relevant. It would be irrelevant. That's really the bottom line, unless we're working on a one-to-one basis or so forth. Okay, and if you're interested, there's also my Patreon community that I do a weekly mock interview and we go over a lot of these questions. Okay, and also my Why Amazon video is shedding some light to you guys to let you know what you're getting yourself into. Um, I loved my experience the time that I was there. Also, things have changed from when I initially joined about 8 years ago or so. Okay. Amazon is a startup. It's a startup in a giant mothership company. It's still somewhat of a startup. Okay. So the way how you answer questions is really based on your background, what you're bringing on the table, and why should they hire you. That's why Amazon, not really why should you join Amazon, but what is beneficial for that interviewer and their position title, and get them excited to continue asking you interview question. Okay, RTB, my friend, congratulations. I'm very, very proud of you. I know. I hope you keep on coming back to just support our community and give them hope. And this is just a pure example, guys. Every single week, I received a lot of messages on LinkedIn. On average, it's about 8 to 10. Yes, 8 to 10 every single week to tell me that you receive a job offer simply by watching my content and being here. And those are all of the individual who doesn't. I know you guys fast forward on my video because some of the questions you're asking me is in my video. For example, why Amazon, right? It's in there. Okay, every single thing is in there. You have to follow it step by step to a T, and I've already done all the hard work for you. All you have to do is implement them. Okay. Hey, Christina Jackson. Hello again. Got my promotion to L5 staffing specialist in Orlando, Florida. I start on August 10th. Yay! Thank you so much. You guys are making my day. There's 3 of you coming in here, letting me know this positive news. You guys made my day. Okay, I need to calm down and continue with this. Hey, David. Hi, Aditya. Today I had my technical interviewed round for Amazon Luxembourg. There's quite a few of you interviewing at Lux. Went well, only SQL technical questions, no LP, because it is your technical phone interviewed. Oftentimes, the interviewer really doesn't have a whole lot of questions, even though they're asking you technical questions. There are leadership principle in there. For example, the interviewer, I'm pretty sure, may ask you things around customer obsessions or ownership, right? Depending on how you code, your problem-solving skill, demonstrate your ability for bias for action in delivering result, and your ability to think big and dive deep. So don't misunderstand, just because it's a phone interview, there's no leadership principle. There is. It's the way how you are answering the questions for them to know whether to move you forward straight to an on-site or need additional information for a second phone screen. Okay? Hey, Asish. My loop is scheduled for August 14. I'm preparing by having 3 example per leadership. You see a smile on my face? I'm asking for 2 and you're saying 3. As well as going through all your video. Yay! I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So a lot of you guys, I know this because we've actually worked in private coaching. By the time you get to me and you're telling me that, Holly, I don't have time to watch your recommended video. Listen, guys, as much as this is my own business, I'm a career coach and I make a living out of my content, out of my private coaching, out of my career masterclass, as well as my Patreon. But my goal is to not get revenue from you. My goal is to have you prep the best that you can. So when you get to me, our time is as most effective as possible, okay? So when you want to work with me and you show up already watching my recommended, and I always give you homework prior to our private session or group session, okay? When you show up prepared, you will get the best out of me and the best of your time as well. Hey, V. Harriet, good seeing you. I have second interview tomorrow, not Amazon. Oh, yes, finally, one person that's not Amazon. It gets me, the reason why I got so excited, guys, because I've been called the Amazon interview coach. I'm not an interview coach. I'm a career coach. I can help you define your vision so that when you do interview for a job, you're interviewing for the right role, not the wrong level. So I do have a whole program on defining your vision and down to your professional branding. Interview prep, it's probably about 30% of what I do. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing the good news. Fingers crossed for you. And do let me know how that goes, okay? Hello, I love the star. Hey, Juan. Star, 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 star. Yes, star. And Raphael, how are you, my friend? Hey, Tori, how are you? Hey, Eduardo. Good to see you, Eduardo. Adula, welcome back. Hi, Eduardo. Raphael says, hey, by the way, guys, let me know how the Wi-Fi is going. It should be back on track, but you never know, right? As I'm trying to get everything set up, I just wanted to make sure, do this correctly. Raphael says, I'm 33. Am I too old to apply for SDE 1 row? First of all, age is just a number. It's true. Age is truly just a number. It's all about the experience and what you can bring on the table. 33, my goodness. Let's not talk about age. It's all about your coding ability and your ability to solve problems, okay? You need to ask yourself, if you could solve problem with data structure and algorithm. For an SDE1, the interviewers will absolutely give you hints. That's just all company and not just Amazon. Okay, Raphael. So you need to be able to polish up on your CS fundamental very well. Hi, Cece. Cece says, I interviewed for L6 but didn't get the offer. The team really liked me and told the recruiter I would be a good fit for an L5 and should apply again right away. Is that common? Absolutely. That is extremely common. It's not a bad thing. As mentioned in a lot of my live stream, guys, an L6 is, the bar was already, well, I shouldn't say the bar is high. Amazon hire individual that can already do the job. If you're an L6, which is a senior professional, you should already be able to demonstrate the scope and the scale and the deliverable that the role is calling for. And if you're missing some of the scope, maybe you're in an environment where you didn't get the opportunity to scale at the level of an Amazon. When I say scale, I meant global, onshore, offshore, global projects internationally, do it very quickly within a few months. Sometimes in the environment that you're in, you just haven't been exposed to that. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that Amazon is offering you a 5 instead of a 6. That means that they really like you and they don't want to give up on you. They would rather hire you, but hire you into the bar that you will be successful once you have become an employee. Okay? Let me know how that works out for you, Cece. Thanks about the music. Hey, Borwa, how are you? Hi, Gina. Hey, Shakib. Finally, my audio. Hey, Fadrika. Hello, Fadrika. Guys, if we're meeting for the first time, I know that a few of you are. Don't forget to tell me where you're from, what position you're interviewing for. If you can tell me the team, that's even better. Hey, sweetie, how are you? Love my Patreon community. I love all of my fans, but my Patreon community is a fairly interactive group where we answer questions, and it's a very collaborative and engagement group on a daily basis. Hey, Shimane. Hey, Shimane. Hello, Deep Toe. I am going down to the questions. Hi, Leonardo. Juan says, oh, you're welcome, Juan. Thanks for everything. I just had the first of 2 loop interviewed. I can't get a sense if I did well or not. Lack of interview personality, if you ask me. Well, sometime, like I said, it's not you. It could be the interviewer as well, right? One of the things that a lot of the candidates, you guys have forgotten is that, because of COVID-19, tech company in general, they're not a remote or work from home. So a lot of the time when an interviewer gets to you to interview you, don't take it personal, because they have been doing it day in and day out on top of me. And basically they sat in front of a desk like this all day long, every day, and I'm not sure how long of an hour they work. And when you're working remotely, and a lot of you guys know this, it's hard to take a break or even grab lunch, or even like I often forget my coffee, and I have to warm it up in the microwave, and also forgot about that as well. Okay, so I think a lot of professionals are adapting to working remotely, and it is hard. And oftentimes interviewers, the ones that has personality, will give you a smile. I wouldn't say they don't have a personality; they just have a lot going on. Okay. Your question is, from 5 people who interviewed you, do all have to agree in order for me to get an offer? No, not necessarily. In fact, it's very rare to have 5 thumbs up, okay? Or, it's more common to have 5 thumbs down than 5 thumbs up. And let me explain. When you have 5 thumbs down, obviously you can't code, and it's across all board and something's missing, where all of the interviewer know that you can't meet the bar. Okay. Very often you'll have at least one or two with a thumbs down. It's not a bad thing. It's depending on their assigned competency, meaning, maybe you were able to solve the problem, but you weren't able to dive deep, or you were really lacking the backbone in pushing back based on the answer that you gave the interviewer. Okay. However, the hiring manager still could influence the rest of the loop. Okay, the hiring manager or bar racer, more so the hiring manager, because at the end of the day, for you to get the job, it's out of the hiring manager's budget. It is his or her requisition or open position. Okay, and they do have the final say. The bar racer could have backbone, and can really stand on his or her ground, and basically ask everyone if they're willing to change their vote. If everyone inclined to hire you, with the influence of the hiring manager, of course, or one of your future peer that you really connect with, the bottom line is everyone have an opportunity to change their vote. Okay, so it's not a bad thing. And oftentimes it's also based on background, and there's biases in interview feedback, because once individual have been at Amazon for so long, you're kind of expected certain type of answer. So that's why it helps to have a bar raiser, someone who isn't from the team, who would call out any biases if there is. It's amazing. I'm a big fan of the Amazon bar racer, because that individual really makes sure that all of the leadership principle that is assigned are asked, and all of the feedback are relevant in making the final decision. Okay. Hey, RTB. RTB says the star do work. Thank you so much for saying that. And I know that many people, in every single week's live stream, I get a lot of, Holly, the star, it doesn't work, because an interview is 45 minutes to an hour. And what am I going to do with the remainder half, 30 minutes or so, if I give my answer for 30-second to 60-second? Well, that's what the star template is for. It's helping you to be very concise, high level, with clarity, and going in depth. Okay. And in every single coaching that I've done with my customers or my clients, you guys know this. It takes about the first 5 minutes for us to do a brief introductions. It takes about 5 to 10 additional minutes for me to ask probing questions on top of the 1 minute you gave me as your answer. Okay. And if you guys all do the math, 45 minutes will go by quicker than you know. The interviewer generally like to reserve the last 10 or 15 minutes for you to ask questions. And I would highly encourage you guys to save all of your questions until the very end. That way you're not running out of time. Okay. Download the template. I will leave the link in the descriptions afterward. Hey, Dan. Hello, Vanessa. Hi, Holly. I had 3 loop interview yesterday. The last one I called was dropping again and again out of nowhere. Is there any chance that there could be some issue with Chime server itself? I would think so, because right now Chime, I'm assuming that is exploding the bandwidth. right? Because there's a lot of interview worldwide. It's not just the US. So as you can imagine, and Chime is a fairly new product of Amazon as well. It could be Chime, it could be Chime, one thing. It could be the Wi-Fi bandwidth from the interviewer and also your bandwidth, okay? Which is why I'm using fiber optic right now so that it doesn't drop. You guys can tell I'm still here. The call is not dropping 3 times like we did previously. Okay? Hey, Shemaine. This is my first time I've come to your live chat. I have a second telephone interview with Amazon for HR assistants in Dubai. Wow, what a beautiful country you're in. Shemaine, I've answered quite a few HR assistants and HR interview tips. So make sure that you go back to my Amazon interview tips playlist. You click on playlist, just kind of find that. Everything is in hyperlink. You just have to look for HR interview tip. All right? Dan says, what would be a good answer for dealing with the question, what is your salary expectation after phone interview but before loop interviewed? Well, Dan, good that you asked. I've actually spent about 10 minutes answering this question in the last live stream. So make sure you check out that playlist, okay? It would have all of my Tuesdays live stream on there again with the hyperlink. It will be salary negotiation. Anlu says, I interviewed for SD1. Happy to share my experience. Thank you so much. Hey, Jamester, what is a bar racer or who? If you guys go to my thumbnail is basically an image that you click on all of my video, okay? It is called on-site process, and I did talk a little bit about the bar racer. And I just talked about the bar racer about 5 minutes ago, that it is an interviewer that is unbiased to make sure that you are better than 50% of the people who's currently at Amazon. You should never treat a bar racer any different from the other interviewer, guys. I'm going to repeat myself one more time. Do not be stressed out thinking about who the interviewers are, thinking about their position title, thinking about what you should prep with your peers, with the hiring manager, with the bar racer. It really doesn't matter, guys. At the end of the day, what you should really focus on are your stories. The more, the better. The more, the better, so you can choose the best one once you have your story, okay? It never fails. Someone is going to ask me about what type of questions I should ask the bar racer. I'm expecting that to come like I have every single live stream. It's irrelevant. Treat everyone equally because your goal is to get the job, okay? And I talked about the debrief a little bit earlier. So at the end of the day, everyone needs to have an opportunity to have a thumbs up or change their vote. Hey, Big Ning Throne, how should I prepare for a software developer manager? Well, there are a couple SDM, software developer manager, and engineering manager interview tips. I talked about the technical part as well as the people management part. Check the last live stream, okay? And the only technical part you really need to think about is system design and architecture. If I'm asking you right now to draw out a design for, let's just say draw a design for Amazon consumer, you know, assuming that everyone know what Amazon.com is. You could be interviewing for media, for Prime, for I can't talk for music or anything like that. But if you are struggling and can't answer questions of what the layout would look like in your systems design and architecture, or how you can create your object-oriented design and analysis, then you won't make it as an SDM. And a big part of the SDM, even though you're not asked to code, but you will be doing code review. RTB says, first number in offer is annualized salary. Is this base annual salary? Second number is sign-on bonus. Is sign-on bonus on top of annual salary? Third number is based on RSU. Thanks. RTP, when it comes to, we call them total compensation. My advice to you is, I'm not sure if you have I'm not sure if you have the formal offer. I'm assuming it's an email. If you haven't already, I would ask the recruiter to list out every single thing, a breakdown of your total compensation, okay? And how you negotiate that is ask yourself, what is the market value of where you, by depending on the geography you are at, what is the market rate for someone with your skill. Okay, I talked about salary.com previously, but do keep in mind, guys, pay attention to the date of salary.com. For example, if you're looking at 2019 or 2018 data, there may be a gap, right? The total comp is probably about 20% higher than last year. Okay, so make sure you do all your research before you accept the offer. Ask the senior recruiter to get the phone tomorrow to discuss the offer, as I believe the offer needs to be improved. Is it the best? Absolutely. As mentioned earlier, you need to really ask yourself, what is your take home, which is your take home, meaning your salary, as well as your sign-on bonus for the first 2 years, right? So you need to ask yourself, what number should it take for you to accept the offer, and do the recruiter a favor as well. Okay, the recruiter will work very hard to get you the best offer possible for you to accept and join the organization, but it's important for you to not be wishy-washy and be very firm on the number that you've come together. And make sure you go through all of that and let the recruiter know what's most important to you, which is, are you going after the equity? Because Amazon stock is crazy. It will remain this way, okay? And another thing is, what can you live without and what can you live without? We're talking about the base salary as well as the sign-on bonus, okay? I cannot give you that advice because everyone is very different. And I'm certainly not going to give you the advice in the worldwide stream right here. If you're interested, we do have a salary negotiation in my Patreon community as well. Private community. Hey, Fabian. I have been listening to a few of your videos. I have a phone interview tomorrow with Amazon. I'm interviewing for loss prevention position. Any tips to what kind of question to be expected? If you're here from the very beginning, Fabian, a lot of the interview questions, one way or another, is very similar. The best tip I can give you is you have to know the 14 leadership very well, and you have to know the commonly asked questions. If you can truly answer all of my questions in my in my leadership principle playlist, and there's only 8 videos, guy. Each one of them is about 10 to 15 minutes long. It's not even that long, okay? If you can answer those questions, and I practically gave you the strategies, how you can create your story in every single one of those video. Why can't I give you your answer? I mean, check out the chat here. Everybody come from different level. I have a mix of junior, mid-level, and oftentimes I also have executive, so it's not catering to the right audience. I rather give you all of my best tools, my resources. Basically, I'm doing all the work for you guys. All you have to do is create your story. And if you want us to work on your story or mock interview, that's what my group coaching is for in my Patreon community. All right? Hey, Olga. Vashali says, I love your content. It's great. Oh, thank you so much. I've been prepping for my interview from your video. So great. Well, thank you. Big Nip Tyrone says, how should I prepare for a software development manager? I've answered that a second ago. Would there be coding? There won't be any coding for engineering manager position. In fact, I don't know if any company is expecting you to code as a manager. As far as I'm concerned, systems design and architecture are the only technical question portion. Hi, Aluk. Any tips for reporting analyst interview? Yes, go look at my previous stream. There's business analyst, finance analyst, reporting analyst. It's really in the very similar to data analyst. Okay. I talked a little bit about what basically how to use data to tell a story is huge, especially being an analyst, right? An example of your customer. Who are your customers, the stakeholders, and what type of reporting or matrix do you present to them? How are you being measured, and how do you run your meeting or produce the type of different reporting? What are they? What type of reporting do you produce for your internal customers? Okay. Adia says, I was interested to know how to prepare for leadership principle. Go check out my whole playlist. on here, my YouTube channel. By the way, guys, if you have not already, it is very, very important for you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any details. I do usually pump out a content every single week on top of the live stream. I just haven't had a moment yet since my family and I just moved back into our home. So that's typically what will happen. For the Tuesday live stream, I intend on doing this for the remainder of the year, as long as there's people showing up with questions. Even though for those who landed a position at Amazon or your company of choice, guys, you're going to have questions with your 30, 60, 90 days plan. Okay, you're gonna have questions about career transition. You're gonna have questions about workplace politics. You're gonna have questions on promotion, growth, and all of that. You guys get where I'm going. So this is what the weekly Tuesdays live coaching is. Right now, a lot of the majority of my audience only care about job offer, salary negotiation, and how to land a job at Amazon. But eventually it will get to a point where you would need questions with career development as well. Okay, Vashali says, I have a third loop interview yesterday, but the last one call I was dropping again and again, nowhere. Is there a chance that it could be time issue? I believe I just answered that. That is weird. It just, your question just, it got jumped. Hey, Jamester. Just wanted to say, after my interesting first interview where I didn't get past housekeeping, I did get an email that they still want to contact me in future for vacancy. That's good news. Rami says, rejoining Amazon answer. What do you mean by rejoining Amazon answer? Can you please clarify that and be more specific? Ashif says, I had my loop on Friday, thought it did fairly well. The HR person, by the way, guys, the HR person is not really HR, just the recruiter. HR are the ones who does your benefit, your new hire orientation. Your recruiter is the one who found you and walked you through the whole interview process. The recruiter said the team was supposed to meet on Monday. How long should I wait to follow up? I will follow up every 2 business days, especially after an interview when the feedback is still fairly fresh. Okay? Hiring manager, this is funny. The hiring manager accepted my LinkedIn invite and said he enjoyed our conversation. That's great. Hey, Eduardo. Eduardo says, first of all, your coaching has been great. Well, thank you very much. Let me minimize this a little bit here. There you go, much better. I'm from Mexico, and tomorrow I'll have my phone interview with my future hire. I love the attitude, my future hiring manager. I love that. I come from telecommunication industry as head of international mobile top recharges and reload. Is it correct to ask my future hiring manager if this is a new position or will I be filling for someone else? Can I ask him what part of my resume got his interest? Absolutely. I think that's a very, that's an excellent icebreaker question at the very beginning as well. As mentioned, if you guys look at the title to today's live stream, it's interviewing the interviewer, okay? Take your time, guys. Also, you know, you got to ask yourself, what is your expectation of your future hiring manager? Okay, and create some questions around that. I do have a template of questions to ask, but I would also encourage you guys to create your own questions as well. And you know, it's always helpful to know if this is a backfill or a new position. If it's a backfill, I would also challenge the hiring manager. Why did the last person left? So you can at least get more exposure with, you know, why the last person left. And for instance, you know, may I ask what was the reason of this open position? And if the answer is this is a backfill, could I ask why the last employee vacant Amazon? It helps for you to also look at the hiring manager, right? Because he or she is right in front of you to see, is it the relationship, is it the culture, is it the scope, what is it? So you wanted to know as much information as possible. Hi, Miss Mojo Risen. Miss Mojo says, I took your advice on the last live chat and reschedule. I got the hiring manager over exceed, got a note they're moving to candidacy. Is it normal to do one interview and get hired? What do you mean by one interview and get hired? I'm assuming, is this your first phone interview or this is your on-site loop? If you could add more content, it would be great. And also, what position are you interviewing for? It is not normal that you have one conversation with the hiring manager and get a job offer. Or are you referring to moving on to the on-site loop or the panel loop? Okay. Thank you. I know this Wi-Fi better be great. Aditya says, one question. Well, you can ask me more than one question. Can why Amazon answer be the same throughout the whole process? Preferably not. I talked a lot about not using or repurposing the same thing over and over again. You could certainly use the same scenario, but your reason being or your how or your why behind it can change a little bit, right? For example, why Amazon? Well, because of my previous experience, ABC, I saw an opportunity to continue my growth. I can't remember what position you're interviewing for, Aditya. Here with this, assuming, let's just use engineer as an example, right? I built B2B businesses in my previous company, and I felt like a lot of my technology and project execution could integrate into this ABC role. That's why I'm interested, and also to learn more about the Amazon culture and how quickly the organization moves. I can say something very similar and completely different at the same time, depending on the audience. Okay, maybe not start off with, I've done this with a consumer or B2B background, but to say something along the line of my passion is to really solve large scalable problem, such as, launching a website within 3 months. I know that Amazon certainly do move fast, and I know that I'd be able to learn different sets of skills here. That's why I'm interested in the role. I think you kind of got the idea, okay? You can use similar, but yet twisted in a way where you can use the same scenario but complete different situation to set up to the interviewer, where you're not really sounding like the one answer when 5-6 people sat together for a debrief. If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. You welcome, Raphael. Yes, brush up on those famous CS fundamentals. Hey, Stephanie. Thank you. You make my job very easy. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad my video had help. Ashi says, can you repeat where to find the template? Ashi, there is a link to my contact information, my business site, my Patreon, and everything free. It's simply called free or freebies. It's on every single one of my video. You cannot miss it. Generally, it takes me about 24 hours after this video. Actually, it took time for me to put a hyperlink. So if you were to rewatch it, basically I will take all of your questions in there with a hyperlink, and it will take you right into the questions and answer. That way you're not wasting your time in an hour or two. Okay, so just look at any of my video or this one later on, and you should be able to see a link. Hey, Payanko. Having Loop interview next week for cloud support engineer. I have so many support engineer and cloud support engineer. Go check out the previous live stream, okay? Amazon interview tips. And guys, please do show up on time, because as I'm getting a lot of the questions that are similar, and I know a lot of people are waiting for their turn. So I'm not being rude. I'm simply telling you guys that I will take the time to do my due diligence to make my content more polished with a hyperlink. All you guys have to do is go back to rewatch it, and all my business analyst position, for example, is right there, and there's quite a few of them. The same thing as senior TAM. TAM is technical account manager. It could also be technical acquisition manager, which is recruiting. I have both of them in the playlist as well. Hello, Eduardo. Eduardo says, interviewing for senior marketing manager acquisition in Prime Video for Latin America. All right, that's awesome. Shemaine says, this is my first time with you live. I'm following all your video. Well, thank you so much, Shemaine. Mr. Mojo Risson says, I interviewed for Amazon Infrastructure Delivery Manager. I only got one interviewed and got an email. They're moving forward with my candidacy, assuming that's good, and I only had 5 questions. Well, that is translating to they're moving you to the next round. Congratulations for passing the initial screen. Hi, Gina. I am doing an on-site interview with Amazon on July 29 for a principal product manager. 2 roles on the same team. That's cool. That's awesome. Being evaluated for 2 different roles in the same team. Anything you can share on whiteboarding session for PTM role? For the principal product manager, actually, I can't. Normally, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the last time I was at Amazon was about 2.5 years ago or so. For product manager and program manager, there's really no whiteboard. There's no design questions because it's not technical to that degree. The technical part is your exposure. Who are your partners? Who are your key partners? For example, the engineering team, the design team, the data science team, so on and so forth, in how you leverage them and who are your internal customers. So a lot of the questions for product managers, especially as an IC7, a principal level, is product execution and your full life cycle at a very high scale. Okay, so you need to be able to talk about the depth and also the breadth of product execution. It's all about product. I would be surprised if the question they're asking you is not all product focus. Hey, Dan. Interviewing for senior finance analyst position in Seattle. That's cool. Are you from Seattle, Dan? What would be a good answer for dealing with the question, why is your salary expectation? Check the last screen. And if you were here for about 20 minutes ago, I just talked a little bit about salary negotiation and expectation. Rewatch the stream, okay? Do different positions have different number of AWS Loop interviews? I have only one, and this is from Asish. That's a very good question, by the way. Different positions do have different number of loop. The loop is basically people that, not people, the interviewers that has relevant experience of the role you're applying to, okay? The interviewer are generally either 50-50 or 70-30 of folks that are in your future team, or at least within the organization, and some that are outside as well. Why are we asking that questions? I'm just curious. Hey, Dipto, thank you so much for the star, Dipto. Hello, Gabby. Gabby from Indiana. You're welcome, Dan. Aziz says, can we ask the recruiter based on the feedback they see after the loop is done, what position would be a better chance to apply to? Clearly, we're not fit for what apply for, and can we ask the questions like that? Yes, I would be very transparent with the recruiter, especially when you have gone through the entire life cycle of the interview process. I would be very open. If they are not able to give you feedback, that's fine, but are there any suggestions based on the feedback that the recruiter, of course, could see, and the recruiter also participate in the debrief, so the recruiter know the feedback on you specifically, all of you guys, by the way, the recruiter have that data if they would recommend you applying for other role within the same level or different level, okay? So I would leverage the recruiter to do so. And if, let's just say that you don't really have a great relationship with your recruiter, this is based on feedback, you want to check out my video. It is called How to Get a Recruiter to Call You, okay? In there, I actually walk you through Glassdoor and how to search for the right recruiter. For example, if you are a release manager, you could find recruiter for Amazon and just put release manager or release manager recruiter. So if you look at my video, I actually walk you through step by step along with a template, word by word, by the way, to let you know how to connect with the right recruiter. I actually have a video that I've been working on the last week. I haven't had a moment to make it go live, so knock on wood, hopefully I'll be able to do that by the end of this week. Liz says, I have an Amazon product manager phone screen next week. Should I expect just a full LP questions? Will there, uh, will there also? I would say, expect anything to happen or anything not to happen. It's kind of hard for me to tell you guys unless I'm a genie with a wand, right? I think I need a wand in here. It's hard for me to know what exactly will ask. Hang on for a second, guys. I think I accidentally. There you go. I've accidentally moved. There you go. I've moved my screen to a different position. So it's hard for me to tell you exactly what leadership principle or will there be all leadership principle. It's all depending on the interviewer. For example, let me explain. For me, if I were to interview you, I will always have two leadership principle and create my questions in advance, behavioral questions, because assuming that I will be asking non-tech questions. If I'm asking technical questions, which is for recruiter or sourcer, and I do ask them to Boolean search or I would actually give them a laptop or have them whiteboard to see how they would find, let's say, find me a principal product manager in Seattle with devices or consumer electronics. So that's how I would go about that. Okay, that's what I would do. So just because I'm asking technical questions, I'm also looking to see if you meet the LP, which is a bias for action, customer obsession, diving deep and thinking big. Depending on the way you answer, and if you could answer my questions, I guarantee you will hit at least 4 leadership principle. That's why I mentioned on every single one of my LP video in that playlist that you need to have at least 2 example per each and every leadership principle. You don't need 28 stories, guys, because as mentioned earlier, depending on your answer, you want to be as intelligent, as concise, with clarity, and in depth within 1 minute to use my star, not my, it sounds like I created the star method. I did not create the star method. Follow my template and you can download all of that under my freebie on my business website. Okay? And that should be able to help you. Hi, Frederica. Greetings to you from Seattle. Yay! I had my first interview yesterday for UX designer role. Your tips helped me so much. Well, thank you. I'm also assuming that you show off your beautiful portfolio if you made it for the first round interviewed. As you said, time went so fast. I'm waiting for the answer. Yes, thank you. I told you if you answer your question within 1 minute, the interviewer will go by so fast. So guys, stop worrying about, what if you run out of things to say in half an hour. That has never happened before in an interview setting. If that happens, that means you don't have the experience and the interviewers are not able to ask you any questions. That's not going to happen, because if you could make it that far, that means there's things in your resume and you have passed the initial phone interview, and you met the bar at least a 70%. Okay? Okay. Dan, interview multiple teams, SFA, both team in the loop. I would like to know the differences between both of these teams. Well, Dan, I can't give you the difference between both of your team. If you, one, ask the recruiter, okay? 2 is if you look at the job description, generally it will explain the culture and see if there's any common theme and what differentiate the 2 different teams. Your recruiter should be able to give you all of that information. And guys, you have to understand Amazon is so huge. Even though I've spent 6 years there in devices, Alexa, Kindle, in B2B or Heartlines was the consumer retail group, and that I've spent in, there are so many businesses out there that I haven't even heard of. So it's hard for me to say, to give you tips on things that I don't want to make up just because, okay? So leverage that recruiter. Vishali says, well, you're welcome from India, interviewing for visual design. Okay, designer candidates are popping up now. I had third loop interviewed. Because of the interviewer experience, I thought the last one was the bar racer. I answered all her questions, but she finished the interview in just 35 minutes due to the call drop. Wow, that's really crazy. It sounds like there's a lot of call dropped. Is that a bad sign? No, I won't take that as a bad sign. What I will do, here's what I will do, guys. if you're interviewing and your interviewer keep on dropping calls and whatnot, I would immediately send that email to the recruiter to give the recruiter a heads up. Because again, the recruiter will sit through a debrief. For example, what if the interviewer thought that you dropped the call and not the interviewer, right? It's the other way around. So you don't want that to be misleading. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know that makes sense to you. And if you're experiencing anything like that that's unusual, I would loop in the recruiter to make sure that that person is on the same page with you. Because at the end of the day, the recruiter is supposed to make your candidate experience as positive as possible. If not, it's great for them to know that maybe Chime is working a little funky because of the amount of user or whatever nature that may be. Gabby says, when it comes to customer obsession leadership principle, who would be my customer? Well, Gabby, that's a great question. I cannot answer that question for you. You need to ask yourself, who is your customer? Who are you delivering? Okay. Oftentimes, it's either your vendor or internal customers or your peers from cross-functional team. So without knowing what you do and what position you have and who your customers are, I wouldn't feel comfortable making that answer for you guys. Okay. So you got to ask yourself, who are you delivering to? And that is your customer. Nash Vape says, are you familiar with any HR legal rules relating to internal ADA candidates? Are there rules, laws that require giving them roles where they meet basic criteria regardless of other candidates? Even though I was a trainer, Hashveep, with some of the legal questions or the law of what should be discussed in an interview setting and what shouldn't. If you have any questions in that category, and because I am live streaming and this will stay on my YouTube channel forever, I'm not comfortable giving you that advice. I would highly encourage you to leverage your recruiter to answer that question for you. Okay? Hey, Banu, I'm planning a QA product. Wow, there's a lot of product manager. What are the different rounds I should expect? I mean, it's really the same thing, guys. You go through the recruiter screen to make sure that you have the fundamental for the role. If everything looks good, the hiring manager gave the recruiter a thumbs up. You move into a phone interview with the hiring manager or someone that is more senior than you. And once you have passed that, you will go straight to the panel loop or the on-site interview where you will be interviewing with about 4 to 5 people. Okay, so the interview process has not changed. And you may want to check out my my Amazon on-site interview process. There's a video on that as well. You're welcome, Aluk. Hi, Moti. Moti says, what about architecture role jobs? What all they ask? There's a lot of architecture interview question on Glassdoor. You may want to check that out, Moti, okay? If you are having a challenge and you can't find what you're looking for, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. But I can tell you right now, all of that is on there because literally I live and breathe on Glassdoor every single week. And furthermore, there's previous live stream as well, as mentioned earlier, with a breakdown of all the hyperlink. Hey, sweetie, at the end, when you ask what is something most successful people do differently in this role, when they say X quality, then what is the best way to navigate from here? What is something the most successful do differently in this role? Basically, the question is really what makes you unique. If I'm reading your questions correctly, is how do you differentiate from everybody who's interviewing for this position? I can't give you that answer because it has to do from you. What are you doing differently? If you're interviewing for a technical sourcer position, what are you doing that is different and unique? What makes you stand out as a recruiter? Okay, but if I were to give you that answer, it would be a Holly answer. It won't be your answer. And and you have to be very careful as well, because if you answer the way that I do, they will ask you 5, or much more probing questions, and you will be able to you need to be able to answer that. That is why I will coach you and give you all of the resources. But at the end of the day, you guys have to show up what makes you unique for the role that you're interviewing for. Hey, Honorbind, by the way, guys, I have about 20 more minutes and I have to let everybody go. So I will go through this as quickly as I can. Hello, another Indian in the house. Reach out by AWS recruiter for PMT position. The recruiter told me they only apply for H-1B. They will not pursue this year. That is correct, because of the pandemic. What level would be a senior PM or PMO hire as? Anything with the word senior as an individual contributor is a level 6. Tony. Anurban says, do they apply for L1A for senior product manager technical? I'm aware of the current U.S. immigration situation. Well, Amazon or a lot of the major company does do L1 or internal transfer for internal employee, but right now I can't give you. What I'm telling you right now may just not be relevant, because you need to talk to someone who is an Amazon employee of all the changes that's going on with the world right now. Okay? Hey, Payanko, after Amazon online assessment, I'm expecting a technical phone interview. I pass directly to the hiring manager loop. Is that normal? Absolutely, because you've done a fabulous job. Benu says, does Amazon have a virtual event to help networking? Well, funny that you asked, Banu. Amazon used to have, and very famous for event recruiting or networking events, where they travel domestically and internationally to do high volume networking or recruiting interviewed. Because of the pandemic, I don't see that happening for a while. If that is the case, you will see posting on LinkedIn as the #1 resource to keep an eye open for that. Eduardo says, I'll be interviewing for a position senior marketing manager for Prime. Oh, that's weird. Your question just popped up again. CBH says, I won't lie. I have my first interview tomorrow for a sales independent contributor role. I'm super nervous. Can we reference notes during the interview? Any thoughts? That's a very good question. Let me put that on here. Let me spend a moment in answering this question, okay? That's an excellent question. And many people have asked me this via LinkedIn private messages. So here's the thing, guys. Imagine yourself interviewing on site in front of the interviewer, okay? First, you're gonna ask the interviewer permission if you can take notes, because it's not legal to make any kind of recording without letting the interviewer know. I'm going to assume either it's on site or virtually like this. If you were to take note or anything like that, make sure you ask the interviewer, and don't make it obvious that you are eyeing on your note, okay? I will not, for example, I'm looking at the camera right now, and if you are interviewing me, I don't want to look up and look down and go find my answer and not lose eye contact with you to make it so obvious that I don't have an answer, okay? Amazon or not, the interviewer wants to hire individuals who are confident in the way they articulate their story and showing up polished, okay? That's why, and I say it again and again and again, once you have a number of different stories, you will memorize your story, memorize them, and it will come very, very natural, okay? If you have to interview and look for your word, I mean, there's 14 leadership principle, okay? You're gonna have at least 10 to 15 different stories in front of you guys. Your eyes will be wandering around, so you have to be very cautious in how you prep for your on-site. And you want to prep for your interview at least, guys, at least a couple weeks before the interview. Are we good? Sin says, why Amazon be consistent between the interviewer? Your why Amazon is consistent, but you don't have to say the exact same thing. Does that make sense? You could tell one person why you wanted to join because of your technical experience that aligned to the scope of the job. And obviously you feel like you can grow tremendously in this role, right? That's one. The second example is you wanted to join because you are extremely excited about this, the initiative of the project and the scope at AWS. I'm completely making this up, guys, because you have relevancy experience and you know that you could contribute in different way and talk about the technology, like maybe a one-liner. As you can see, I'm not repeating myself. I'm basically telling you similar scenario, but I'm twisting everything different. So it just doesn't sound exactly the same thing. Okay? I'm going to pick on someone different. Asish says, I saw someone mention that they have multiple loop interview is why I asked if there are multiple loop interviewed. I have one, and then after a couple of days, I will if I get an offer. If you have more loop after you get an offer, it may just be a sales call or for you to meet your team because everything is virtual right now. Okay, it's not a bad thing that you have multiple loop. It could be an indication that the interviewer are not available. Okay, and because they don't have to book the conference room, they can just simply reschedule for a different date. My advice for Amazon or other employer is try to get a full day interview from the candidate because the candidate are nervous and anxious. So get it all out of their system so they don't have to, get that anxiety of getting ready to interview, do a fabulous job, pause, and then do it again in a couple of days or in a week or 2 weeks. That's just losing momentum from a candidate experience perspective. That's what I would have done. You welcome, Liz. Narol says, for foreign job require fluent English. How will it be test? I can communicate. I always talk remote supportive supplier. That's a really good question. Let me just put you on here, Naros. As long as you're interviewing for an American headquarter company or an American company, you need to be able to communicate in English fairly well. Because even if you are in, and I've hired for Madrid before where the entire office speaks Spanish, as an example, right? Sure, go ahead, speak your own country or your own continent language, but you're going to have key partners and internal customers, engineers, and you're going to have people reporting to you from Seattle and all over the world. So having the English spoken language is highly encouraged. And there's a lot of ways for you to practice in polishing up just interviewing style as well. YouTube is a great, it's a fantastic resource. God, I can't really remember what is her name. I think they are called the Urban Fight. That is a husband and wife owned YouTuber like myself. I love their content. It is amazing, and her content is teaching people how to communicate and pass job interviews speaking in English. Okay, so it's called Urban Fight or Urban Fighter. You may want to check that out. Hey, Harpreet. I'm interviewing for an intern in Munich. How many rounds can I expect? To be honest with you, I have no experience with intern. I'm pretty sure that if you do a quick search on Google, our friend google.com and Glassdoor would be able to give you a lot of that information. Okay. Hey, Cool Buzz. Any tips for program manager? Yes, I have so many tips on PM. It's in most of all of my previous live streams, so go check that out. Amazon interview tips. Okay, that is the playlist. Search for the hyperlink. Okay, guys, I think that is the end of our questions. Thank you so much for spending your lunch hour with me. If you have any more questions that I am not able to answer, make sure you show up on Tuesday, same time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until next week, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of the week. Bye.